You are more than most humans understand that you are. You are more than this physical human point of attraction. There's a larger part of you, this soul of you, this source of you. We call it the inner being of you, who was non-physically focused before you focused into this body. And that non-physical part of you is still part of you, a big part of you, the biggest part of you. So there are two parts of you who are attracting. There's this source of you who is only love and appreciation and confidence and knowing and security and balance and well-being. There's that part of you. And then there's the human part of you who could be that. Sometimes you are or might not be. But if you have chosen in any moment in time to be resistant to the love that is you, you really feel that tug of war. Or when in any point in time you in your human beingness choose to be resistant to your appreciation of yourself or others, you really feel it. In other words, you feel the discord, the discomfort, the lack of harmony, the downright pain of not going with the flow of your eternalness, of who you really are. You just can't be in this physical form and look around and find things to hate without causing problems to yourself. Because as you focus upon what you do not desire, you got to know your inner being is never going to do that. And the question is your vibrational output a match to what you want, or are you matching the reason why you want it? Because if you're matching the reason why you want it, then you're not a match to what you want. And the law of attraction then does not seem like your friend. The law of attraction is this always precise responder to your vibrational output. It's like you walk into this field, like a gravitational field. You're familiar with that. You live in one of those. And you also live in a vibrational, responsive law of attraction field where what you've got going on, the law of attraction is responding to. And what's so interesting about that is that you only have to know what your point of attraction is and what to do about it if it isn't the way you want it to be. But you're not the only one who has this going on. And so the most recent way of describing it that we have found for you, it's like you've got this bag of marbles that is magnetic in quality, that's gathering up for you your life experiences, gathering up your thoughts, your next thought, who you rendezvous with, even the memories that you find from past. Everything about your unfolding life experience is about this law of attraction, this energy field that is responsive to what you've got going on. And the thing is, mostly, you don't really know what you've got going on until it gets going on. And then you're reactive to that. In other words, if something happens and it's not something that you prefer or want, your response to it causes a further attraction of it, because you live in a universe that is inclusion-based. There's no exclusion in this vibrational universe. So when you say no to something, you're actually calling to you the thing you've decided that you do not want to come. Sometimes this is where humans say to us, well, that sucks, because it feels a little counterintuitive to the way you may have been integrated into your world. It seems like if you say yes, it should come, and if you say no, it shouldn't come. But have your children taught you nothing? The more you decide that you're going to demand something to come to you because you want it to come because you don't have it, the more obstinate you are, the more resistant you are to letting it come to you. And the most important part of this analysis of how life goes for you is this. Your inner being is always going to focus upon who you really are and all that you have become through the life experiences that you have lived. So when you choose to take a very narrow point of view, like, I don't like what's happened in this red hot minute, I'm just not going to stand for this, and you stand in protest, in justification, in what it turns out to be is downright arguing for your limitations. But when you choose to do that, which you certainly have the free will to do, in fact, it's part of your evolution process, but when you are in the moment of doing that, you can really feel that discord. And the reason that that discord exists within you in the form of negative emotion is because your point of attraction that you have the free will to activate for yourself, and that which your inner being is gathering up the cooperative components on your behalf. If those are in opposition, that's what resistance is. If they are in harmony, that's what allowing is. So there's this, you could call it a lot of things. We call this vibrational you, this vibrational reality, this you that you have become to. We call it your vortex, just because we wanted to have a focal point that you could focus on, and we wanted you to accept it as something that is real in your experience, even though it's hard for you to accept that it is real because you can't see it or hear it or smell it or taste it or touch it until it gets evolved enough that it comes into your experience in a way that you can interpret the vibration of it through your physical senses. We want you to accept the reality of it by feeling your way to it. So you could call it a lot of things. We have called this vortex a lot of things. We say, here you are, and here your vortex version of you is. And when you're in alignment, we call that a state of allowing, or the art of allowing. We have called it being in your vortex, or we call it letting what's in your vortex come to you. We call it being a cooperative component. We call it closing the gap. We call it being in the flow. We call it moving downstream. We've called it a lot of things because we want you to accept its summoning of you. We want you to understand that who you are is calling you to the fullness of who you are, because that's where all the good stuff is. When you ask, it is given. Someone should write a book. When you ask, it is given. But the reason that humans don't always know that is because you've asked, but it hasn't manifested where you can see it and hear it and smell it and taste it and touch it. So you say, well, if it's given, I would like it to show up somewhere where I can see it. And we say, it has been given, it has been revealed, but you got to realize it. You've got to be a vibrational match to what you're asking for. You cannot continue to be a vibrational match to the reason that you're asking for it. So when someone says, how are you? You really want to tell them this version. But humans don't want to do that sometimes because it doesn't feel honest. In other words, I don't feel so good might be the way you feel. What's wrong? I don't feel good. Well, what's wrong? Well, when someone is asking you, or when you're focused upon what's wrong, you're rarely focused upon what you prefer or where you're going or what's actually in the process. It would be like the gardener or the farmer or anyone planting a seed in the ground, making sure it's a viable seed and putting it in the ground and taking care of the ground, and then noticing that nothing happened, not soon enough for you. And so your reality is, I made some effort, but nothing's happening. Where in the vibrational reality, there is a lot going on. There's a whole lot of energy in that seed, and a whole lot of attraction power in that seed, and a whole lot of intelligence in that seed, and a whole lot of source energy affecting that seed, and a whole lot of becoming in that seed, a whole lot of becoming that you can't see or hear or smell or taste or touch yet, but it is happening. And if you can accept that it is in the gestation stage, it's like the fetus in the womb is in a state of becoming also. All of your creations are in the state of becoming, and if you could enjoy that knowing and that process of the evolution of the becoming, then you would be less likely to be resenting or regretting or impatient about it's not yet being fully manifested. And when you get the hang of that, life is so much fun, because now you're bridging that gap. Now you hatch an idea, you know it's on the way, you're eager about its becoming, you're aware of its becoming, you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, so you get to watch the progress of it becoming. You feel like who you are, the creator of your experience with your own hands in your own vibrational clay, where you get to be in on every improvement that you make to this creation. So many others around you, all running around with their bags of marbles. And it's not the most dominant. In other words, it's not the dominance of the marbles in your bag, like, I love that and I love that, but I hate that. And I really want that and I really don't want that. And that person was so beautiful and that person was so mean to me. In other words, all those marbles that you drop in your bag, and everybody else is doing it too, it isn't how many of those marbles you've dropped in, because, too many to count. It's which of them are active. Which of them have attraction power right now? And that's what's active in your vibration. In other words, that's what your belief system is. A belief is just a thought that you continue to think, and a thought that you continue to think is an active marble that is attracting. So you can have someone in your experience. Esther had this the other day with her grandson. He's a teenager, and Esther's thinking about her bag of marbles, and she knows that she's going to see this teenager, and she's eager about doing that. And so she just dropped a whole bunch of marbles, the best feeling existing, not the ones she's reaching for, the ones that already exist, good feeling marbles. She just dropped them in her bag. It took her about 2 or 3 minutes. It was fun to do. And then a couple hours later, she saw him, and he was so much like the marbles in her bag. And she thought, I'm the master of the universe. Now, she didn't think that, but she is. Her active feeling about him caused him, you're not going to believe this, he came out of his bedroom. Stopped doing whatever he was doing online and came out of his bedroom and sat and visited with her. Esther thought, it's a miracle. They had the best conversation. So we're not giving you this example because we want you to think that we want you to control the behaviors of others. That isn't our point. But how people, how situations, how inanimate objects, how traffic, how weather, how everything in your physical universe responds to you has everything and only to do with what you got going on in your bag of marbles. And you've got more control than you have even been thinking you have or practicing to exercise. In other words, existing happy thoughts are your tool for living happily ever after. And trying to fix things that are broken, not so much. Trying to straighten other people out, not so much. Trying to point out their flaws so that they will be better, not so much. Anytime you point something out that you don't want, you got a whole different bag of marbles going on. So the reason that we're talking about this bag of marbles is because we want you to begin to get a sense of the interplay and why you have the interplay with who you have the interplay with. Why things happen the way they do, because it is precise, it is accurate, it's a beautiful dance. And when you're dancing deliberately and with awareness, then it's all fun, no matter what. Then it really is all fun.